We need to go warn the others, Tess urged, mana already enveloping her body as she prepared to jump off the cliff. Art grabbed her wrist. I'll warn everyone. You need to go get your teammates. You have a mission to accomplish. That beast horde is more than a day early, Art. The people here aren't prepared for this. I should stay and... That's what I'm here for, Tess, Art cut in firmly. You have your orders, soldier. A tense silence followed. Tess's brows furrowed and her jaw tightened in frustration, but she eventually relented. Fine, I'll gather my team and report to Captain Jesmia before leaving. Good. And Tess? Be careful, Art replied with a gentle smile. That's what I wanted to say, dummy, she said, grabbing him by the scruff of his mantle and pulling him into a kiss. As she let go and stepped toward the edge of the cliff, Art found himself subconsciously touching his lips, momentarily dazed. Tess smiled, her flushed cheeks betraying her embarrassment at the bold move. Tugging on the chain of her leaf charm, she met his eyes. Remember the promise. I promise, Art replied, lifting his own half of the charm hanging around his neck. Just like that, Tess jumped off the cliff, streaking down the mountainside like an emerald comet. Art watched her go, hoping his decision had been the right one. He didn't want her staying here. In the Elshire forest, she would be hunting stragglers, enemies lost in terrain she could navigate freely. It's for the best, Arthur, Art muttered to himself. After a moment, he reached out to Sylvie to inform her of the situation, then leapt off the cliff. The people of the wall handled the news surprisingly well, though there was a brief surge of panic between the adept leadership and the fact that most of those present were trained soldiers or veteran adventurers. They were quick to ready themselves for battle. In the span of an hour, archers and conjurers were positioned on every floor of the wall, staring warily out from the many arrow slits. Melee troops, largely members of the Bulwark Division, hurried into formation just behind the gate to the Beast Glades. Work in the tunnels below was still unfinished, with many workers rushing to complete the preparations. Trotius had assigned several adventurers to assist them. The trailblazers had vanished entirely, moving into position so quickly it was as if Jesmia had teleported them away. As for Art, he waited inside the meeting tent with Sylvie. Trotius paced back and forth behind his desk, hands clasped behind his back, eyes darting as if reading an invisible script. Gavik and Callum stood nearby, silent and tense. Taking advantage of the brief calm, Art checked the contents of his dimension ring. The only useful item inside was Dawn's ballad. Even cracked and broken, it was still better than any other weapon he had ever used. He took it out and inspected the translucent teal blade. Its tip melted away. A spiderweb of cracks ran down the blade from the ruined point. I really wish this damn weapon inside my hand would manifest already, Art muttered to himself. Now would be as good a time as any, Sylvie replied. General, Gavik said suddenly, drawing Art's attention away from Dawn's ballad. Please reconsider. Allow us to accompany you. Art looked at the two mages and shook his head. As I said before, your job will be to support the troops here. Callum answered, frustration bleeding into his voice. Commander Virion has personally picked Gavik and me to assist you in battle, if something were to happen after sending you by yourself. I'm not looking down on you two, but the chance of something happening to me or Sylvie only increases if you two come with us. The tent flap was suddenly pulled aside, and a tall, muscular woman with dark skin and striking red eyes entered. Those starling red eyes swept across the tent, moving from face to face before settling on Art. Please excuse the intrusion, she said, bowing slightly before turning to Trotius. Father, I brought the weapons you asked for. Ah, come in, Seigneur. Trotius waved her over, offering a rare smile. Arthur, this is Seigneur Flamesworth, my daughter and the master blacksmith here at the wall. Art remembered Tess mentioning Seigneur when they had toured the wall together. Tess had seemed to have a good relationship with her, but even so. The word daughter, coming from Trotius's lips, irritated Art more than he expected. Jasmine's stories, about her life, about how her family had all but discarded her, were still fresh in his mind. This wasn't the time to dwell on that, however. So he suppressed his feelings toward the senior captain and turned his attention to Senyer. "Arthur Lewin, pleasure to meet you," Art said, sheathing Dawn's ballad. Senyer opened her mouth to reply, but was cut off by her father. "Senyer here is one of the finest blacksmiths in Sapin, on par with even the master smiths of Darv, due to her excellent ability to manipulate fire attribute mana during the forging process," Trotius boasted. "I heard from Tessia that you prefer thinner blades," Senyer said, ignoring Trotius's interruption as she handed Art the longer of the two swords. "I'm sure it's nowhere near as well crafted as your weapon, but my father informed me that you'll be in battle for an extended period of time. Having multiple backup weapons won't do you any harm." "Thank you," Art replied, drawing the sword from its plain steel scabbard. The blade was a pale gold, about 3 fingers wide and slightly longer than Dawn's ballad. After testing its balance with a few measured swings, he began channeling mana into it. The thin sword hummed as fire, wind, water, and earth mana swirled around the blade in unison. Art continued feeding mana into it until he could see the metal beginning to deteriorate under the strain of multiple elements. He cut off the flow of mana and sheathed the sword. "Not bad. I think it'll suffice." It was the best compliment he could manage. Despite himself, Art found it difficult to fully suppress his personal feelings toward the Flamesworth family. Senyer couldn't keep the disappointment from her face, but she accepted Art's words with a bow. "I'm honored." Placing the longer sword into his dimension ring and fastening the shorter one to his hip beside Dawn's ballad, Art turned to Trotius. "Have the ground troops ready to advance as soon as I leave." "I'm aware of the plan, General. Don't worry about us. Just come back in one piece," Trotius replied. "We'll be waiting for the signal." Without another word, Art walked past Senyer Flamesworth and stepped out of the tent. He was immediately met with a thunderous cheer. Soldiers, merchants, and adventurers alike clapped and shouted his name. "Your presence is what is holding this wall together, General," Trotius said from just behind him. It was overwhelming. Rather than pride or reassurance, a surge of horror washed over Art as his eyes swept the crowd. He had just seen his father. He wasn't supposed to be here, and if he was, then the rest of the Twin Horns had to be as well. No. They were supposed to be in Black Bend City, far from this battle. Sylvie squeezed his hand. "Arthur, everyone is watching." Art didn't care. He wanted to run to his father right then and demand that he leave, that he take his mother and the Twin Horns and get away from the wall. But he couldn't. One look from his father stopped him in his tracks. The determination etched into that familiar face was enough that, even as a general, Art didn't dare try to stop him. His father would never forgive him. If everything goes to plan, most of these soldiers will make it out alive. And Dad is one of the stronger soldiers, Art thought, forcing himself to calm down. Swallowing the anxiety and dread building up inside him, Art saluted the crowd, his gaze locking with his father's. His father saluted back, and despite the fight they'd had not long ago, he smiled at him. Another wave of cheers rolled through the crowd as Sylvie shifted into her draconic form. His bond reeled her head back and let out a deafening roar, shaking the ground. They ascended with a single beat of Sylvie's broad wings, clearing the height of the wall in mere seconds and giving Art a clear view of the approaching horde and of the people below they were responsible for protecting. Art's hands trembled as the true gravity of the situation finally settled in. He had brought his sister here. His parents were here, along with the Twin Horns. Their lives, the lives of every man and woman at the wall, depended on him. "You're not alone, Arthur," Sylvie said as she spread her obsidian wings. "Nothing has changed from when you made the decision to bring Ellie along." She was right. Despite the beast horde arriving a day early, the preparations had already been made. Both his mother and sister had the Phoenix Worm pendants to keep them safe, and he had even given Ellie a transmission scroll in case she needed to reach out to him. Still, Art couldn't help but feel uneasy. Was it because of the promise he had made with Tess? The pendant hanging around his neck seemed to weigh him down, but it wasn't just that. The timing of everything felt off. He still couldn't shake the feeling that this attack was more than it seemed. What were the Alacrians trying to accomplish? Focus, Arthur. You're going into battle. Are you ready? Sylvie asked, her excitement flooding into him. Not as ready as you are, Art teased, buoyed by her confidence. Sylvie's laughter rang through his mind as the world around them blurred. With her seal released, every inch of her body brimmed with power. Each stroke of her wings carved gales through the air behind them, and soon they were closing in on the army of beasts. Scanning the churning sea of fangs and claws with mana-enhanced vision, Art picked out the Alacrian mages scattered throughout the horde, shepherding the massive herd forward. How about we send them a little welcoming gift, he suggested. My thoughts exactly, Sylvie replied, her wings beating slowly to keep them aloft high above the mana beasts. Space warped around them as mana gathered into Sylvie's open maw, coalescing into a golden white sphere. It grew larger with every passing breath until it was bigger than Art himself. The sphere erupted into a beam of pure mana, slicing soundlessly through the space between them and the enemy. A blinding flash forced Art to turn away, but the crash of shattering stone and the shrieks of mana beasts rode a wave of hot air that reached him even at this distance. So began the battle. If you're enjoying this series, please give the video a like. It really helps others discover it. And if you'd like to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. Want the next chapter? Comment next chapter below.